what it is, folks. This is Just Another Melt on Just Another Melting channel, and we're going to go ahead and jump right into what's going on. So one of the most common things I see on YouTube is people talking about how this furnace design from the King of Random breaks down because it's sand and plaster of Paris after 3 or 4 melts. Mine hasn't yet. It's actually doing really well. The lid, I am willing to bet that this is also going to break today. So, yep, that was me predicting live what was going to happen with the lid, because after only 1 melt, that lid was already getting some serious cracking. Might be due to the sand and plaster of Paris mix. I'm not entirely sure. So, in the 11 years my wife and I have lived in this house, I've never done anything with this garage. I'm not Mr. Handy. I don't have a ton of tools. I'm not Mr. Fix-It. We usually just buy what we need and get everything from my father-in-law that we don't have to fix stuff around the house. Part of the journey, though, is going to be getting that garage fixed up and cleaned up and give me a better workspace to store everything. So the method I outlined in the previous video regarding the buildup of an aluminum molten pool and then plunge the cans into it did wonders. That's a very solid way of pulling the absolute most aluminum out of your cans, and it worked great for me, so thank you to Paul's Garage for that. Have I mentioned in my voiceovers yet how much I love Time Lapse and how I wish I would have remembered it on previous videos? That's such a great setting on the phone. So like in anything, when you do it for a really long period of time in one session or one day, you're going to learn a lot of stuff about that subject. All right? In my case, one of the things I learned was that there is, I don't want to necessarily call it a flaw, but there is an occurrence due to the design of a charcoal burning furnace for melting metal that I observed. And here's what the deal is. Every time you take that lid off of that furnace to refill the charcoal, you're going to lose a crap ton of heat. I know that's not a great technical term, but you're going to lose a crap ton of heat. And the same thing goes for when you start dunking cans. All right, that molten aluminum in there is at a certain temperature, and then you put in a cold or room temperature or outside temperature can, and it causes a little bit of solidifying, a little bit of cooling in the molten aluminum. So between losing heat with the lid open and then losing heat in the molten aluminum with the cans as you dunk them into melt, you're going to lose a lot of heat. Now, I don't know an exact percentage, I'm not that smart, but it happens.
It's gonna burn off all the tomato.
Wow, that's some high-tech stuff right there, right? An old crappy desk tripod with a brick holding it in place to keep it from falling over. You don't get much more fob than that. Well, you do, but just not here. I think I've recorded this one voiceover like 30 times already, If you could hear how many times I drop the F-bomb at the end when I mess up, you'd probably laugh. Unless you already know me, then you're like, yeah, that's normal. So let's talk about what you can do as far as the heat loss and minimizing what happens when you lose all that heat. Here's my tip. Develop a rhythm. All right? Develop a rhythm at which you do everything in the order of operations, meaning I'm going to take the lid off, I'm going to reload the charcoal around the crucible, I'm going to plunge 7 cans, I'm going to reload the charcoal that burned down while I was plunging cans, I'm going to put the lid back on, I'm going to wait for 2 minutes, I'm going to plunge cans through the vent in the lid, I'm going to let the heat build up after that, I'm going to remove the lid and refill the charcoal and rinse and repeat. That's what I mean. Develop that rhythm and develop that timing. Also, I have no idea what was in this can that burned, but it turned everything black for a minute.
What the hell was in that?
Yeah, you can, I asked. But yeah, developing that rhythm is going to ultimately help you run a more efficient melt. And if you do it right, like right here, you can see that the molten aluminum is actually red, like it's red hot. I've never seen that in any of my melts, but it's because I was keeping that heat up. Hopefully that makes sense. Another lesson that I realized, when you're doing a charcoal burn with a clay graphite crucible, you know, you got the charcoal as your heat source, it's going to basically get hard, that's what she said, and kind of build up around the crucible and stick to it. Yes, my lid broke. I predicted it. Anyways, the charcoal's going to stick to the crucible. It's going to cause issues, you know. It'll basically become like glass on the outside of the crucible, which caused an issue for me. So definitely make sure that at the end of every melt, if you're doing charcoal, you get, you know, try and crack some of that stuff off after the crucible is cooled down and the charcoal is cooled down. You don't want to burn yourself. But it's something to watch out for, and I paid for it on this melt, which you'll see. So I've seen a lot of videos where even after a lid cracks, they'll still use it. I decided I was going to do that here because why not? It still worked great, still held in the heat as much as it could, all things considered. That door jamb is, you know, that thing's been in my house actually since my wife and I moved here. Never used it for anything, so I thought I'd melt it. But yeah, the lid is still usable. Probably still losing a lot more heat. But it did look cool with all the lumpwood charcoal sparks flying out. Oh no, 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 no. That's what happens when the charcoal sticks to the outside of the crucible like that. That's why you want to keep it clean, or maybe use a different way of melting. I'm not entirely sure what all that stuff is. What you didn't see is that I basically refolded that hot spilled aluminum, put it back in the crucible, refired it, and then poured it. You know, melted it down and poured it, which is what this is. So yeah, there was a decent amount of lessons learned on this melt. And if you do this at home, make sure you get everything cleaned up properly, especially if you have dogs. Morning, nice day for fishing, ain't it? Yeah, you guessed it. It's time for some s'mores. So, thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, made it all the way through the video. If you melt and you watch this video and you've got suggestions, I would love to hear them. Leave a comment or shoot me a message or just anything. I'm always willing to learn, especially on something I love doing. All things considered, not a bad haul for the day as I build up my supply of ingots for future casting. Like the video, subscribe if you want to join me on the journey. We can eat s'mores at the end of every video like some homies. But yeah, thank you so much. And thanks to everybody who donated cans. Assuming any of you are listening to this or watch the end credits. I really do appreciate it. And have a good one.